Thank you very much for making time in your busy schedules to spend the day with us here to celebrate and acknowledge Hikohiko te Uira. As Trevor said, I'm the chairman of the Federation of Maori Authorities, and on behalf of my colleague board members who have joined us here today and our chief executive, Te Horipo Karaitiana, we want to acknowledge the wealth of knowledge, experience, skills, assets, information, science and innovation being that's in our room today. There are no chances here today. You have been invited because you hold roles of voice and influence in your respective industries and sectors. Some of you are leading science and innovation institutions of national and international renown. Some of you are heads of Maori and iwi economic authorities that hold assets, interests and investments worth many billions of dollars. Together, you are all here today because you recognise, like I do, and the Federation, that science and innovation is an important factor in terms of turning this national economy around and building and growing the Māori economy. You are here because we acknowledge your respective and collective role in setting and advising the priority of science and the economic platform in this country. From the outset, on behalf of the Federation, I want to acknowledge our strategic partners who have worked solidly beside us in bringing this initiative together in a very short time. Te Puni Kōkiri, Industrial Research Limited, the Ministry of Science and Innovation, all have been integral in drawing the very best minds and thinking together in the development of the program we have here today. And this program aims to take a strategic and pragmatic approach to the development of Hikohiko te Uira. I would also like to thank our presenters, who are arguably the heavyweights and leaders in their respective professional disciplines and science and innovation sectors. And so what we've done is we've drawn you here today. We've drawn your experience, knowledge, voice, influence, and roles here today to discuss a program that we hope will be challenging, thought-provoking, and directly advise where we are heading as a Māori economy, where we are heading and how we contribute to the national economy in terms of science and innovation. And so along with the Prime Minister, the Federation of Māori Authorities firmly believes that science and innovation is a most important key, critical into unlocking the potential of the Māori asset base, to improving our performance and productivity across all of our areas and industries, to look at new ways to improve the way in which we manage our assets, and to lift our sites to new markets for trade and export, not only nationally, but internationally. Whaihua, science, innovation and enterprise is a key plank or po in the strategic framework for the Federation. And so as I look around the room, I see many faces, whānau and friends. I also see some new colleagues that I haven't met yet, and I'm looking forward to doing so at morning tea and at lunch and during our breaks. But as I look at you all, I am absolutely mindful that if we are running true to form, then this is probably not the first conference or hui or summit or wānanga that you've attended this year. And so let me be clear on behalf of the Federation and on behalf of the working group, that this symposium, as Ngāhiwi and Trevor has quite rightly said, comes with a public health warning. E hoa mā, if you think that this is just another box for you to tick on the merry-go-round of annual conferences, then you are in the wrong place. Hikohiko te Uira aims to focus our collective attention on science and innovation and its positive effect on Māori economic development and wealth creation, and in turn to reset the science and innovation platform for this country. This will require us now to set aside limiting beliefs, to roll up our sleeves and to get involved. It also requires us, as the Minister quite rightly said in the speech that Ngāhiwi so articulately presented, it will take us to be courageous and to be brave. Hikohiko te Uira aims to identify a path forward, knowing that the path has already been set for us in our genetic DNA and in our whakapapa. It sets a pathway forward for agreeing a mutual iwi, Maori and government science platform that identifies the priorities and the outcomes, including those significant opportunities for Māori economic authorities and Crown research institutes and others to work alongside. So if we think about us, those of us who are Māori and iwi leaders in this room today, and what do we want? And what might we say to the learned colleagues that we have from across the science and innovation sectors gathered with us in this room? Then we might say this, that we want to know how science and innovation can improve the performance and productivity of our asset-based investments and interests, as I've said before, as Ngāhiwi and the Minister quite rightly have said, and has Trevor laid out that whāreki in his very first introduction. We want to nurture and grow more Māori scientists, innovators within science and technological sectors. We want to find ways of melding mātauranga Māori with other knowledge systems, not only Western knowledge systems. We want to think about how we might consider whether the new thinking is old thinking and whether back to basics is in fact the way forward, and a little bit of a dose of that good old-fashioned number 8 wire technology that we've forgotten about. We want to know whether this thinking, whether these thoughts are credible science and innovation responses to the requirement for a more effective, efficient enterprise and the ever-tightening economy that I have no doubt our whanaunga Ganesh is going to talk with us about. Our sense is that our conversation today will directly contribute to more robust industry-focused science outcomes that we can all agree on. It is our firm belief as the Federation that a Māori-led, government-supported response and approach to science and innovation will assist in resource allocation and will identify new ways to better support the science and research needs of Māori enterprise. The Federation, as you know, represents collective Māori and some iwi authorities with an estimated asset base of around $9 billion. Now, of these many billions of dollars that we hold as the Federation, that the Māori economy holds across our spectrum, we know that at least half are estimated to be in the primary sector. So if we think about that, and we think about the uplift or the potential uplift in performance and productivity, then we know that this is an area where we can immediately see some bottom line effect to our own businesses and to the state of this nation. When we cast our minds forward, and here we mentioned some of the industry sectors that Māori and iwi asset holders, economic leaders hold interests in, then again we start to think about tourism, energy, we start to think about property, a number of different areas, horticulture, fisheries, aquaculture, the list goes on. So let's not constrain our thought. Let's set aside those limiting beliefs and let's begin that conversation that might take us forward. Science and new thinking will boost the value of the products our firms produce, our businesses that we own, the investments that we've yet to invest in. It also means too that it will identify the true value and the economic potential of the Māori economy. And so my role here is simply to set the platform from the Federation and from our strategic partners being Te Puni Kōkiri, Industrial Research Limited and the Ministry of Science and Innovation. But I want to leave you with an observation of a learned colleague and friend of mine who believes that Hikohiko te Uira is a critical component in the overall master plan for the Māori economy. And we all know, e hoa mai rau rangatira mā, what is good for Māori is good for New Zealand. Nō reira kia piki te kaha me te māramatangi te wānei. Kia ora nō koutou.